two detectives uncover the grisly murder of a young woman following up an odd but small-time theft of lease documents from a realty agency in the 1962 police procedural Jigsaw. And that's the movie we're dusting off this week on Movie Bones.
I don't know what more I could have done. No one around saw or heard anything. This is all that was stolen. I suppose we could circulate a description of those leases, but to whom? Do you know any lease receivers?
Well, what's eating this wrestling character?
I don't know. He's fingerprint wacky.
Well, he's doing all right anyway. They're all long-term ones. No, one short one, John Campbell. 1 month, available 28th of April. That's 3 days. You know, I can't accept this. You put sugar in it?
No, I remembered.
Yeah. Well, if a man wants to run out on a lease, why doesn't he just run?
Except if there's no lease, he can't be accused of it.
Yes, but he can be nicked for breaking and entering. That's a crime. I should try and get more details on these short leases. It's your case, my boy. I only been brought in as a mediator.
You don't suppose somebody's using a house for stolen goods or for a hideout? This would be the surest way to draw attention to it.
Yeah, unless somebody's got handwriting trouble, at least would have handwriting on it. Right. You can take Uncle for a drive.
Now, look, Fred, I wouldn't feel at all hurt if you took over this job completely.
Tom, Sergeant. It's your case and my rest day. And come 2 o'clock, you'll be doing your own duty as an upstanding and promising member of the police force. Right?
Right, sir.
And I'll be getting ready to watch the kickoff.
Dun dun. In the criminal justice system, the people are represented by 2 separate yet equally important groups. The police, who investigate crime, and the district attorneys, who prosecute the offenders. These are their stories. But in this case, it's pretty much the first half of that. But I have to ask, where do you stand on police procedurals, man? Because is it good storytelling material, or is it more like, for me, most of the time, paint drying monotony? Or maybe something else?
It depends on what it is, to be honest with you. Like, I actually grew up on Law & Order, and, I found, because my dad loves Law & Order, and he loved, every iteration of Law & Order there was.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I'm not sure he still watches it, but his favorite character. Did you ever watch Law and Order?
I may have watched an episode or two, before they had Law and Order, Boise, Idaho.
One of his favorite characters is the prosecutor, Jack McCoy. And so anything that had Jack McCoy in it, he'd absolutely
Is he the guy with the
watch
gravelly voice and the kind of,
Kind of. Have you ever seen the first version of The Great Gatsby? He's the one that plays Gatsby. Or not Gatsby, Nick.
Is that Sam Waterston? I know the actor's name.
I think so.
Okay,
yeah.
So in that case, yeah, I do know the actor, and we're talking about the same person then. Yeah, I did. Yeah. From what I remember of him, he did a fine job. I mean, he did a just fine job.
My dad loves Law and Order. So yes, I won't lie. When I was watching this movie, I was sitting there going, this is a lot like Law and Order.
He probably loved this movie. I mean, he probably would love this movie. Yeah.
Absolutely love this movie.
And as far as it goes, I mean, I'm more in the paint drying camp when it comes to this kind of thing, which is probably why it's if I ever watched any episodes of Law and Order back in the day, it would have been early on, and I would have quickly lost interest in it, and that's where it kind of resided for most of my experience with the show. But for me, it's very much in that paint drying monotony. So it's actually kind of an achievement that this film is not going to earn, don't look at it, or even a bad dates from me. So it's actually achieved something, I guess, kind of remarkable for me in that sense.
A lot of it comes down to there is this weird bit of nostalgia I feel for it. One of the things that we've both kind of harped on outside of this, and we're going to harp on as we go, is just how procedural this movie is. They're going through the steps. I even argued at one point with myself, this could be, I don't know the ins and out of detective work, but I'm saying, if that's one of those movies that maybe you watch it and you sit there and go, yeah, if you want to learn how to be a detective, this is a movie to possibly learn how to be a detective, because it's doing it by the law. It's doing it by the book. So I kind of liked it a little bit. Well, I liked it. It made the movie, how I could have felt about it, go up. I liked how he did some things. For instance, you don't see the perpetrator's face.
No.
And I thought that was really cool.
You don't even get to hear his
really,
voice even.
yeah,
He remains silent, even though I thought this would be an opportunity for the other guy to speak, unless he's like thinking he's like going to be recorded, he's being recorded or something. But
my kid was watching with me because she was just kind of interested in that first part of the movie and everything. And like I honestly thought, I was like, because like the very first part of the movie, the victim wakes up in bed and she's like talking to who we believe is her boyfriend.
mm-hmm.
And then like you learn pretty quick that, they're having an affair. But like for a little bit there, I'm sitting there going, he's dead, isn't he? Because I thought he was not gonna like I thought he was gonna be the one that dead, and like it was gonna be
Yeah.
it was gonna be a whodunit type of film where she was gonna be the prime suspect. But no, he gets up and then like he takes her out.
Yeah, that's what I say. Once he stood up, it's like, and you could see the trajectory of where things were going, and just how it's like this is going to go bad really quickly. And sure enough, it does. And so they give you that bit of a teaser to get you into it, and you are presented with these two, an older cop and a younger cop. I think they call them, lieutenant. Was it detective inspector and detective sergeant? I guess are the two. I guess their rank. I guess. But one of the things that kept me invested even just a little bit, because let's face it, these aren't characters who are going to be changing throughout the course of the story. It's mostly about how interesting are their personalities. And they do manage, at least, to be interesting on a personal level between the two of them, especially like the older one. His wisdom, and his quote-unquote the wisdom and experience he brings to it, and he's very playful about it. He's not too self-serious at all. He keeps it very light, and I appreciated that about that part of it.
Like, I think I was also always expecting this movie, as I'm watching it, to go super dark. And it really never goes super dark. What I'm saying is, of course, the murder is dark. But what I'm getting at is, a lot of times these movies have the bodies start to stack.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then when you find the person, it's they're crazy, they're going to kill again. That kind of stuff. Actually does not happen. In fact, you get a very normal, I know it sounds weird to say, but you get a very normal, bad guy. And
it's not Silence of the Lambs. You're not after a serial killer,
And see, here's the thing. The movie itself presents him at the very beginning like that type of guy because we don't know anything about him. All we know is he's, we know what it kind of looks like in terms of like, skin color, what he wears, his kind of build and things like that. We know he smokes a cigarette. That's about all that we know about the man. And, and it seems like he just pounces on her at this one point and everything.
It does feel very much like he could be, like, this is just next in a line of, there's a whole long line of victims.
When we get the confession itself, it's not that he's remorseful. It's that he is, he's like, oh, this is what happened. This is what happened. This is what happened. It was an accident. Of course, we find out at the very end, like, he did. It was not like an accident in that sense. But I almost wondered at one point if the beginning of the movie was intended to be a bit of a unreliable narrator situation. So that like we were wondering like, oh my gosh, are they ever going to find this evil guy? And then we find, for lack of better terms, a bumbling idiot. And he kind of is. Like, really what comes down to, folks, spoiler alert right here, what he comes down to is he's a guy who's having an affair and he just doesn't want to get caught, and she becomes pregnant, which is actually something that happens far too often. Unfortunately, you'll have guys that get in affairs, and then the woman gets pregnant, and then they're like, oh, I'm going to keep it, or I want you to leave your wife. That's what happens in this movie. I want to keep it, and I want you to leave your wife and come with me. And he doesn't want that. It's not dark in that we have bodies upon bodies stacked.
No.
It's dark because it's incredibly realistic.
It is different in many ways from your typical, like, crime thriller that way. I don't think I was actually invested in watching it to see as much who it was, as much as I was enjoying watching them try to find him. Because
I like that too.
Yeah.
And then trying to nail him for it.
That's the crux of it right there. It doesn't excel at what it does, and it doesn't fall flat either. It really does hover like right at the level of, you're just keeping me going. You're just keeping me going steady. I'm going steady right now. And it's only because they keep feeding you little doses of their personality and interjecting with the the procedure itself and the believability and the struggles they have to deal with the procedure. But if it was just offered by a little bit more, I'd have like zoned out. That's where the life of the movie is. There was nothing else to keep me going. I like the fact that they are good at their jobs. They show the unglamorous parts of the job, and not in a way that's detracting from the experience.
The boring parts.
The boring parts weren't boring.
You're learning how the job actually works.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in that sense, like, you know, you sometimes just got to make phone call after phone call. Sometimes you have to just wait. Like, there's often times, you know, more waiting in some of these types of jobs than people really realize, because like you're compiling information and you have to make sure the information is correct, and you also have to make sure the information is worthwhile. I'm not saying, like, as someone who's like done this job, I have a high respect for a detective type job and everything, but you know, it's just, I've talked to detectives before. It's not that they say their job is boring, but I know for a fact, like, you know, sometimes it can be pretty just kind of like mundane paperwork.
Oh, yeah. And it goes for a lot of jobs. I mean, it's like I know of somebody else who went into study archaeology because of Indiana Jones. And it's like, and was like, that's, dude, you realize that archaeology is actually one of the most paint-dryingly boring jobs there is when you think about it. It's only because of a Hollywood movie, that a portrayal of a Hollywood movie of this life of a daring do guy. It's like, it's so, and of course there's more actual connection to, you know, danger, obviously, in the life of a detective. You're exposed to more dangerous aspects of society by the very nature of the work. But you still have to kind of remember that Hollywood's job is to take the ordinary and to make it feel extraordinary.
And that's the thing. In this movie, they just did a pretty good job of making the ordinary just be ordinary. Be
ordinary without being boring. And I will give it, it does achieve something kind of of noteworthy attention just because of that. The problem I have, of course, at the end of all this is that it leaves me kind of struggling to say anything more about the film, because there are no themes to explore. There's no character I can really sink my teeth into and say, well, that character is obviously someone I could relate with, or, you know, on a personal level. There's not really any of that to talk about, and that in itself could be something oddly enough to talk about, because it does, like I said, it's just you are left wanting with more to discuss.
The most relatable character is the guy who keeps trying to go home. And like something keeps happening. And that's our second detective, our second lead, basically. That's the most relatable part, because we've all had that job before. It's like, I'm trying to go home and can't go home.
But that's as deep as it goes. It is surface level relatability. It's like, oh, Wednesdays, you know, man, have you ever had one of those Wednesdays? You know, you just couldn't get home. It's like, oh yeah, I've had that too, but we all have. It's like, and that's the character, and that's the connection you're in for the character is, you know, you're like, oh man, Wednesdays. It is what it is, and it's never going to be more. I mean, so I'm not going to belabor it. I'm not going to try and stretch this out. It's going to be one of our shorter episodes, I have a feeling. But so where do you come down on this?
I will say this, and I'm not kidding you. If you want to be a detective one day, and maybe one of you wants to be a detective one day, this is Fortune and Glory. You should watch this movie a lot, because this tells you how to be a detective. It shows, well, at least shows you, you know, how detectiving was back in the 60s. I think it was 60s, yeah. But I mean, it shows you just the kind of the steps it takes. So if like you're a person that wants to be a detective, this is a Fortune and Glory movie. But other than that, I agree with your rating for the movie. So I'm going to let you take that away.
Yeah, this is halfway between Bad Dates and In a Museum. It's just above Bad Dates. I mean, it keeps it, the movie does keep moving almost out of sheer force of will at times. There's a lack of very much investment in the characters as discussed. It makes it feel a little more work-like. It has just enough individual character quirks in its leads and the banter between them to keep you kind of liking the detectives on a personal level and just wanting them to succeed kind of for their own sake, you know, even when all they're doing is finding out more information. Very procedural. Like we said, it's the one word that sums up this movie better than anything. But the sprinkling of character moments and emotional beats, kind of like with the victim's parents especially. I think there's one or two scenes with the victim's parents that actually struck at a moment of drama. It's not consistent enough throughout where I can actually call it a drama at all. It's not even a slash drama, but it does have that one moment. Don't know if I'll watch it more than once, but you know, but my wife and I definitely enjoyed it enough, at least this once. At this time, we'd like to remind our listeners out there that if you're having a good time with Ryan and me dusting off these old movies for celluloid treasure, Please do like, subscribe, and comment. And of course, follow us on your podcast purveyor of choice. Tell us what you think we got wrong, because we're human beings and we can be fallible. Maybe you think, procedural is where it's at and it should be, as Ryan said, fortune and glory. No problem. Tell us about it. But anyway, we have another film coming up next week. And Ryan, would you like to tell the folks out there what it is?
As we head into the holidays.
This is actually our Christmas episode.
Tubi says, in this adaptation of Dickens' classic novel, most of you know what we're talking about now, a bitter old miser is given a chance at redemption when he is visited by 3 ghosts on Christmas Eve.
Wonder what it could be.
Starring Alistair Sim, Mervyn Johns, Hermione Baddeley, Michael Hordern, and directed by Brian Desmond Hurst. Now this, folks, I want to make this very clear. This is not, let's not try to compare this to the Muppets Christmas Carol, but this is the 1951 version titled Scrooge.
Scrooge, yes. And it's also no relation to the Bill Murray film called Scrooged. That's just the same story recast in the 20th century. How many adaptations of Christmas Carol are there? I know what my favorite is, but
there's a lot, and then, I think they're just going to keep being a lot.
There will be. Do you have a favorite by any chance?
I don't know. I kind of like the Muppets one a lot.
It's good. Michael Caine is excellent in that. Michael Caine especially is excellent in that.
I'd probably have to really sit down and watch more of them to have a definitive favorite. I've just seen it different ways, different times. Because for instance, there's an all dogs go to heaven version of this movie.
Are you kidding me? I will say it's my favorite version. It has to do with I forget if it's the 90s or when it was made, but it is a version with George C. Scott as Scrooge, and it wasn't even made for film. It was made for television. But he's probably one of my favorite dramatic tellings of that. And Michael Caine, of course, gets a nod to as one of my favorite Scrooges in the Muppet version too.
I think I've seen the Patrick Stewart. I think he played Scrooge at one point.
I've seen that one, and I have to say I really didn't like it. It's actually one of my least favorites.
And then I've not seen this one personally, but I know that I think the Jim Carrey one was well received.
Oh, really? There's a Jim. Oh, wow.
Yes. I think that was more CGI.
That is a CGI one, yeah. That's I think by the same people who did Polar Express, I think.
Yeah,
which
I've
makes sense.
Personally never seen that movie. I love Polar
I haven't
Express,
either. I will give it. I will give a nod since we have some extra time to deal with today. I will give an extra nod to if there's the Gone Wrong show. I don't know if I mentioned the show before on Movie Bones, but have you seen anything related to the Gone Wrong show?
I don't think so.
It's a British troupe of comedians, and they basically present themselves as serious actors, but they're so inept at being a complete team that everything goes wrong. Everything you can possibly imagine goes wrong during the production of their shows. And they do a Christmas Carol version of the Gone Wrong show, and it is very funny. It's not perfect, they do have better episodes, but if you're going for not serious, that is one of my favorite experiences, and I will never ever forget their version of the Ghost of Christmas Future. That one just knocks me loopy every time I see him. So it's crazy. Now we've given a complete and thorough prepping for next week's episode. So I can't think of anything else to say, Ryan. So I guess until next week, we'll see you guys out there. And Ryan, I'll see you next week.
See you next week.
All right, folks. See you next week.
I do have a date.
Oh, yes, I forgot. You monks get around.
At least I had a date.
Well, if she hasn't learned how to wait, she's the wrong girl for a copper.